No. Okay, I'm sorry. This was supposed to be a hazelnut latte, not, I don't even know what.
She doesn't drink anything but hazelnut. Don't you
Ugh.
get it?
Please.
God, that's
stop.
so annoying. It's so hard to find people that just get it, you know?
Yeah.
People that are conscious and awake and aware.
Yeah, that
and
listen.
know what kind of lattes to get.
Yeah.
God, I'm sorry about that, guys. So, we're here just recording and playing and
And going back to some acting skills.
some callback. We realize now that some of the callbacks that we do in all these episodes, some people totally might not get because
Yeah.
we understand people have busy lives. We don't expect that everybody's watching every video, but should I explain it or should I just tell them to go back and watch the other episodes to get these jokes? Either way, the jokes don't work, and this is all just falling apart. It's like sand trying to grasp it. Can't do it anymore.
Oh, I think it's because we didn't really have someone else to work with.
Yeah, there's no one here, and we're just getting upset at ourselves for lattes that we ordered incorrectly. So back to the meat of things. We're on like a really cool subject.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Which is started with the idea of collaboration and working with people, and the part of us that fears expanding into a place where we're sharing our gifts with others and creating opportunities for people, even though at first it might seem that you're losing an opportunity, and how expansive that can be and how many more opportunities that opens up for you, even just in the perspective of seeing that you have so much to share and seeing how powerful and valuable you can be, which allows you to create that abundance for others, and then just where that leads you in terms of opening up other opportunities because of the way that you see what might be challenges or scarcity around you.
Yeah.
And then that led into the idea of I guess, judgments of moments and feeling like you might be in a place that you don't want to be, and how, circumstantial some types of happiness are when you're judging and saying that life needs to look this certain way and I need to have this much money and be this healthy, and how that exact judgment and saying that you'll be happy in a future date is a thing that's closing you off from not only the ability to be happy right now, but to be happy right now and be in a place where you're creating all of those circumstances that you are feeling like you don't have or can't be happy until you do have. And just that whole paradox. And it's so funny that we see that exact paradox, I feel like, in every one of these concepts that we talk about. And they all kind of point back to this one main theme right here. Which is the idea that where we ended up last episode is that, I think one way to sum it up is that all of these things that we think we need to have, all of these milestones or achievements that we think we need to accomplish in order to feel this self-worth or this value or feeling like we are successful, that the only time that they can actually happen, the only time that you can actually be successful, at least in the way that I'm seeing it or explaining or sharing it from my point of view, is that the only time we can be successful is in this one very moment right here. And the definition that I used for are you successful right now has nothing to do with those external circumstances or how much money or your health or any of those things, or even your perception of yourself, that story about yourself saying, oh, I'm feeling good right now because of all of these things that happened. The only way that we can really decide or judge if we're we're successful in a moment is if we're not trying to get out of it.
Right.
If we're not saying that this moment doesn't feel right and I need to change this moment in order to feel good. And in that very, the decision or the orientation in which we say, this moment is okay and I'm supported in this moment. And when we make friends with that moment and are just there and we bring that presence to it, that's when we open up the door to creating future successful moments in which we bring in this level of power and this care for the moment and this attention to detail, in which we start to allow a creative impulse to really work through us. That's when that momentum and that ball starts to get rolling, where you create future successful moments, and then your reality starts to mirror that success that you're holding in all of these individual moments, and then externally is represented in all of those things that you were using as excuses for not being or not seeing yourself as successful in a moment. That was a mouthful. That was an introduction. If you're just waking up right now, then whoa. You might want to take a breath and step back, because that just startled me a little bit.
To break it down a little bit, because I love tangibles. I love
tangibles too. They're just like this little orange that are just the right perfect mix of sweet and tangy and usually no seeds, and it's so good.
tangibles, Dan. Tangibles.
Oh, okay. I don't know what that means.
Okay, well, I'm going to explain then.
Okay.
The how-tos and tools. I love tools. And so the two things that come to mind of how do I accept this moment right here and now? And there's probably a bajillion ways.
Shit.
A lot. It was really funny. Oh gosh. There's probably a lot of ways, but two ways come to mind for me is there was a lady, Gabby. No, not Gabby. Gosh.
Jake. There's a lady
woman
named
named Jake. There's a lady, and she wrote The Happiness Project. And someone's probably going to comment and say exactly who this lady is. This beautiful woman did a whole experiment for a year of happiness, of finding happiness. And what everything came down to, what she found was the key to happiness for anyone living, was growth. That was the key to happiness. And I see that so much in my life. When you are growing, and that can be creating, that can be playing music, when you are working out or exercising or writing, when you're growing, you feel happy. Mm-hmm. And another one that I'd like to add is gratitude, is simply looking around and seeing all that you have, looking back from the horizon, because we're always, there's this idea of looking towards the horizon, which is that thing that you're desiring, that whatever it may be, that creation that you want to get to, that amount of money or relationship or blah, 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 blah. Whatever that may be, that horizon, that like sun, when you're looking towards that, you're never gonna get to it. Like the horizon, when in life, like when we're looking at the horizon, you're never going to be able to run and reach it. And yet when you turn around, when you like look back and say, there's a white screen back here. When you look back and you see all that you have done, all that you do have, all of the beauty that surrounds you in this moment, there's a sense of peace that comes. Mm-hmm. And so those to me are two real concrete ways to find that success in the moment.
Yes. And I would like to dig a little bit deeper in the short amount of time that we have left, and maybe clarify each of those things and how they can be even misconstrued. Because growth, I know that one of the things that's also something that someone like Tony Robbins would say is that growth is one of the biggest things. And I think just quickly that we want to just define what growth means. Because if you said that growth is the key to happiness, then we look around at maybe like nature and see that things grow and then they die. And life, doesn't get sad about, it doesn't stop creating trees because one of them died.
Yeah.
And if we also said that growth is the key to life, then maybe as we start to get older and our bodies start to kind of not be as flexible and as powerful, then that might be a cause for you saying, I'm not growing. Or even if our mind starts to get not as sharp or something like that, or opportunities aren't popping up the way that they used to, that'd be a real cause for depression. And so I guess I would want to say that growth, if we were going to define it as one of the keys to happiness is growth, I'd want to say that growth is the expansion back into the truth of what we are, to go possibly beyond what some personal development seminars might say, which is to develop this business and develop this self-worth and this confidence and all of that are based on these external things, circumstances. And so I think those things are great, they're amazing, and they should be a mirror for what you're doing primarily, which is growing internally and creating that knowing of pure love and abundance for yourself.
Which you can do all the time. There is no need to have tools outside of you. You don't even need paintbrushes or an easel to be able to grow in that way. You literally simply need quiet time or time to reflect or a journal or time in nature in order to grow in those ways.
And then the second part of gratitude, which kind of will lead me into, I think, wrapping up and coming to the point that I think actually spurred on most of this, is within gratitude. Of course, now it's obvious that this same exact thing could happen as we sit and look back on our life or look around and find things to be grateful for. I'm grateful for the relationship that I have. I'm grateful for this car that I own. I'm grateful for a healthy body. Of course, if there was a situation in which one or several of those things weren't there anymore, then of course that it would be really hard to be grateful for it. And so if your happiness is based on gratitude for a thing or a circumstance, then it's going to be really easy for you to not feel so good again. But when you can look around the world and if you can disconnect the fact that maybe it's yours or it's related to who or what you are, and just be appreciative of it for what it is. Like, I think a perfect opportunity for that is to go into nature and say, this is beautiful, and create that knowing that this is a reflection. My ability to see beauty in this is representative of my ability to see beauty in myself and to know myself as the exact same thing that all of this is. And in that, just hone and clean and solidify that connection in that. And so
true.
I think what the meditation is going to be based on is a little bit of self-probing, and the idea that popped up for me in meditation earlier today in the last couple of days, which is, when there's these things, these circumstances or these thoughts or emotions that don't feel so good, or even ones that do feel good, so going a little bit deeper and saying, there's a meditation called self-inquiry, where you say, who am I? Who am I? And you just want to wait for what that is. And you're not looking for a conceptual answer, but you're looking for kind of the feeling of who am I? Who am I? And the last couple of days, when these emotions or even an attachment to anything that's happening or trying to figure out a circumstance or just planning for the day, something that I've been experiencing is just the idea and the thought of like, well, what is that cares about that? And you can do it in any situation. I'm going to work and I need to get there on time, and it's like, what is the part of you that has any attachment to that at all? And allowing that, and I think eventually there can be this sort of naming, or not naming, but a feeling or an organizing feeling that there's a part of you, almost like this energetic entity in you that is attracting all of these thoughts and creating them as being important, and starting to just feel within yourself, where is that magnetic north pole that's bringing all of these troublesome or worryful or stressful negative feeling thoughts and emotions into my being, and seeing that there actually is. And this was part of my awakening, was finding whatever level of awakening, I don't know what that means, but it was a huge shift that I went through, where there was a visceral feeling of this energetic thing within me, this ball of thoughts, this thing that was an accumulation of all of my experiences and everything that was happening in my life, every circumstance in my life, and it had like almost like a credit score of how good I should feel about myself, and realizing that it was just this mass of things, and realizing that not only is it not the totality of what I am, but it really has little to zero truth, because it's always changing and it's always moving, and it's always the tone of it always changes based on my perception of it, and what was the last thing that happened to me, and just what happened today. And so I think this is a huge opportunity that when we can trace back, like, what are all these thoughts moving into? What are they being attracted into? What is the thing that wants to own these thoughts, or own the situation, or own the circumstance, or relationship in your life? And the more that we see it, the more that we become aware of it, that is my definition of what awareness is. So when these responses to things come up, you can say, oh, this is just a response that's being dragged into that ball of thoughts and circumstances and experiences, which is my identity, which is my story, which is the thing that I'm protecting. And the more and more that we can do that, we can allow it to be there, because you're not going to stop that.
Yeah.
I don't think you're not. There's levels of shifts, I believe, that drop it more and more, and it becomes not so solid. It becomes more transparent and holographic, and it's more amorphic. And I think that with this awareness, that can still be there, and those responses can still come up, and they can be the thing that creates contrast. You can realize, like, oh, it's just towards that thing that's in me, that entity, that identity. And when you can do that, that immediately creates an awareness of the other part of you, the thing that's witnessing all of that. And that, I believe, is really striking that balance between this small perspective and what happens to you in your life and what your circumstances are, and then the thing that just loves all of it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, doesn't care, loves it.
Wow. That was powerful. I'm learning so much from just that. I think that's the beauty of these, that we're teaching ourselves in this. And so thank you again so much for joining us this week. And please let us know your thoughts. We now have this beautiful comment section right down there, and we really love and value what you guys have to say, and would love to know what this is bringing up in your life. So we anxiously await hearing all of that, and hope you have a magnificent day.
Bye.
Bye.